Welcome everyone to our very first video tutorial for Autodesk Fusion being recorded in July of 2024. We are going to get started and make a Machinist square today to learn how the software works on a basic level. So we are in our working environment here. You can see on the left hand side is all of our projects that we'll have. This will grow over time. On the top we have our ribbon with all of our tools. And we have our workspace in the middle. Now, one thing that I don't like having in the workspace is this grid. So I'm going to go to Grid and Snaps and uncheck Layout Grid. You can keep it if you want, but I don't like having that there. Then we have our browser here on the side, and this is where, as you'll see, kind of all the parts will come together to make our Machinist square. Let's go ahead and first save this. So I'm going to click Save, and it's going to ask me what project I want, and we're going to create a new project and label this Tutorials. And then in Tutorials, we are going to label this Machinist square. Now, if you've ever used other CAD programs, you'll create your individual parts and bring them together in an assembly. In Autodesk Fusion, you create everything in the same working environment. So to get started, I'm going to create my first component, which is kind of a part. And I'm going to do that by going up here and clicking New Component. And I'm going to label this Body. And you can see in our browser here, we have the body, and it's locked as well. It's not going to move from our very first starting position. Now we're going to go ahead and click Create Sketch. And I can click on my front, my right side, or my top. For all purposes right now, we're going to just work off of our front plane. And now one thing that we're probably going to notice is our units are in millimeters right now, and we want to switch them to inches. You can do this at any point. You don't have to do this in the beginning of the program. But I'm going to scroll down on Document Settings, click here for Units, and change it to inches. Now, I work in inches usually for these tutorials, so I'm going to set it as default and click OK. All right, let's go ahead and draw a rectangle. Now, I can click anywhere, but I want to start on my origin here. My origin is the only known place in the entire software. That's 0, 0. Everything else is a random point, essentially. And so if I start on 0, 0, then it's going to give us a, it's going to let us know kind of where everything goes, and nothing is going to be able to move by accident. All right. Let's go ahead and type in our first dimension. So I'm going to type in 1. And then to get to the vertical dimension, I'm going to click Tab and 4. So now we have a 1 inch by 4 inch rectangle. I'm going to go to Solid and Extrude and make this 3-dimensional. It's going to automatically select it because it's the only thing that I have, the only shape that I have. And I'm going to change my distance to 3/8 of an inch, which is 0.375. Now, say I'm lazy though, and I don't know what that is. I can just do 3 divided by 8, and it will do the math for me. Now, if I click on my mouse button on the wheel, I can pan. If I hold Shift, I can rotate. And if I click on the mouse wheel as well. And so that's what I'm doing now. Now, if I ever got lost like that, I can always go up to my view cube here, go home, and I'm back in my working environment. All right, now we need to make a slot on the side. So I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm not going to click on one of these faces or one of these work planes anymore. I'm now going to click on one of the faces of this part. So I'm going to click on this side face here. I'm going to pan up to the top, and I'm going to draw a rectangle, making sure that I snap it to this top line. And I'm going to just draw a random rectangle. Press Escape to get out of the tool that I'm in. And we placed dimensions before by typing them in when we were putting them in. But we can also just go up here to Sketch Dimension and place them after the fact as well. So this is 0.125. and this is 0.875. Now, you'll notice I have black lines and blue lines, and to get out of the tool, I'm pressing escape. The blue lines mean I can still move, so these can move side to side, whereas the black lines mean that I can't move those ones. So I want to center this in the middle, and so to do that, there's a couple ways I could solve this problem. I could put a dimension in between these, but I don't like to do that. I like to use my geometry as much as possible so that if I change a dimension later on, everything kind of updates together. So what I'm going to do is go to my line tool, and I'm going to change this to a construction line, which is not a line that I can extrude or anything, but it's a line that just guides me. And I'm going to draw 2 lines coming out from the sides. Press escape to get out of the tool. And then I'm going to select each line. So I'm going to select one, hold shift, select the other one, and I'm going to make them equal to each other. By making them equal, I'm forcing that rectangle in the middle. All right, get out of the tool. And then I want to extrude this. So instead of going to solids, I'm going to click E on my keyboard, select that shape, and then I want to change my distance to all, and I want to flip this so it goes all the way through. All right, and there is my body. So I'm going to change my material by right-clicking on this and going to physical material, wood, and we can make this any material we want. I'm going to make it out of red oak. And we have our first part completed. Now, notice I'm working on my body here, so I'm going to come up to my Machinist square and click the radial for Machinist square. And then we're going to make our handle. So I'm going to right click here and click new component. Same thing as going up to here. And I'm going to label this blade. And then I'm going to go to create sketch. And I can create, even though I'm creating a new part, I can create it on my work planes, or I can use existing geometry, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on this surface here. Then I'm going to go to rectangle, and I'm going to come to this corner. Come on, rectangle. And I'm going to make this 1 inch by 6 inches. All right, extrude this. Now you'll notice I have 2 shapes here. So I can select one, but I have to select both. And I'm going to make this 0.125. All right. Let's change the material. I'm going to make it out of any of these steels here. Go. And then I'm going to go back to my Machinist square to see my part. Now, we need holes going through the body and the blade to hold them together so that we can put rivets in it. And even though I'm working in both my parts, so I have my body and my blade, if I do any changes to these, it'll update to both of the parts at the same time, which is really nice. So I'm going to create a sketch while I'm working in my Machinist square, not in one of the individual parts. And click on my side. Then I'm going to go to rectangle and just draw a rectangle here. Press escape, press D to get to dimension, and then I'm going to place some dimensions here. So this is 3/16 of an inch. This is also 3/16 of an inch. Now, I'm lazy. I don't want to type it in again, so I'm just going to click on this, and I'm going to make them the same dimension. This is 5/8 of an inch, or 0.625. And this is 1/2 an inch, or 0.5. All right, I'm going to finish my sketch. And instead of doing my extrude now, I'm going to go to my hole tool, and I'm going to click on each of these corners. Now you'll notice my hole is really, really big right now, but we're going to change that. We're going to change the distance to all because we want it to slice through everything. And then our diameter is going to be 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch. Click OK. And now you can see it goes through both of our parts. And if I go to my body, down here in my toolbar, I have the hole here. And if I go to blade, the hole also shows up there as well. All right. And then lastly, we have our rivets to make to hold this together. So I'm going to go to new component. Label it rivet. And we have 4 rivets. So I'm going to right click on rivet and click new component again. And label it rivet 1. I'm just going to make 1 for now. So you notice I have a part within a part, which is totally fine. All right, we're going to create a sketch. I'm going to click on the surface here. And because I have this circle here, that's why I want to extrude. I don't need to draw anything. I can just go to solid, extrude, click on that circle, and there we go. Now, instead of giving it a dimension, I'm going to go to extent to object, rotate to the other side, and click on the other side, and you'll notice it extrudes it to that side there. And there we have our rivet. I'm going to right click and change this to brass. And then I want to copy this multiple times. So I'm going to right click, copy, right click, paste, and I'm going to just drag it off to the side. We'll see why in a minute. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to control C, control V. Nope. All right. And then one more time so that we have them for each hole. All right, let's go back to my Machinist square as a whole. Now, I have this rivet here, but I can still move it if I unlock these. And I like to unlock them. So I'm going to unground from parent. And now I can move this. And this can move as well. So I need to use my joints to lock them together. So I'm going to click joint. And I'm going to select what point I want to lock to this point, to something on my body as well. So I'm going to come to this bottom corner. Now it's kind of hard to select it, so I'm going to hold control, and that locks me to this plane, and then I can select that corner. Let's rotate and do the same thing here, and that locks that right there. All right, now we're going to do the same thing to our rivets. I'm going to right click, go up and repeat joint. And then that's there. Now, instead of clicking OK, I'm going to right click and hold my mouse button and go to repeat joint. And that just clicks OK for me. And then goes back to my joint. And I'm going to do that again. And there we have all my parts. Now, I don't want to see those joints, so I'm going to uncheck the visibility from my joint. And there we go. We now have a fully made Machinist square. Go ahead and save it. And that is it for our very first tutorial for Autodesk Fusion in July of 2024. Now, thank you for watching this tutorial. If you would please like and subscribe to this channel and this video to help me make more of these tutorials.